Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Lead Score Monday. It has been a minute since all three of us have been together for a Lead Score Monday. I'm Casey, and I've got Chris Carolan and Rylee Powell with me. And today we're kicking off something we've been talking about doing for honestly way too long. We've been helping people build lead scores, been doing this for months together as a group. And we still haven't built one for ourselves. The cobbler's kids don't have shoes, that classic saying. So we're changing that starting today, right here, right now. And we're doing it live, which means you get to watch us figure it out in real time, including the parts where we might disagree. Because here's the thing, before we even open HubSpot, before we touch a single property, we need to answer a question that most teams skip or just assume, which is, what is this score actually for? We might not all have the same answers, but today's about figuring out whether one score can handle all of the things that a lead score might want to do, or if we need different scores for different purposes. This is the first session in what I'm calling the value first scoring build. We're documenting the whole process, start to finish, no shortcuts, no skipping the messy parts. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. If you've been through this exact conversation with your own team, we want to hear about that as well. So let's get into it. Chris and Rylee, when I sent you this idea for a topic, what were your initial thoughts?
Finally.
What are we?
Maybe I should have asked Rylee first, Chris.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Mine was just what you said in the intro, which is, well, what are we scoring?
All right, so
we're going to represent.
So the cobbler's kids, that's us, right? And
yeah,
us is value first. So we're building a value first score for the value first team. Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We're shooing our family instead of shooing the community.
Indeed.
You don't commonly use that saying, the cobbler's kids have no shoes. It's a very timely, relevant.
I mean, I don't say it a lot.
2026.
I know right, it is. Yeah. And I could that probably applies to the whole HubSpot portal right now. But so I want to take it back to one of the things you mentioned then in the intro, as the quote unquote leader / head coach. It is my responsibility to make sure we do not have different answers before we even get started.
Yeah.
So just want to throw that out there.
Yep. So what are we doing? Are we doing this for trying to identify people that might need help with lead scoring? Or are we zooming out and doing anyone who might need help with HubSpot, or zooming even further out, anyone who might need just business consulting help?
Well, I think that's where it comes down to, like, what are we asking the lead score to do? And I mean, to Chris, your point, like, we should all have a common goal in mind when we start this, but we all may come into this room and have different opinions on that. I mean, there's a lot of things people can use lead scoring for. Sales prioritization and routing is the most common. Like, most commonly, if I'm starting a lead score project, I'm asking, which of these two scenarios are you in? Do you have too many leads and your sales team doesn't know who to talk to first? Honestly, the less common scenario. Or does your sales team not have enough leads, whatever that means, and they're trying to figure out who else they should be prioritizing or building relationships with? That's like the standard lead scoring process. But also, people might want to use lead scoring for marketing and nurturing, segmenting their email campaigns, their ad audiences, engagement and content measurement. So, like, we do a lot of lives. Are our lives those you can really measure direct attribution from. But the volume of the lives we're doing, bringing more people in, lead scoring might be used in that. There's revenue and customer life cycle. So that's the upsells, the cross sells. That's going to be a little bit more on your like customer health score. But a lot of times, depending on the organization, it could still be looked at from a lead scoring like lens. And then there's fit and qualification. So figuring out who even like is maybe in our audience, taking engagement out all the way. And then lastly, like operational and alignment. So using lead scoring as a common language for lead quality across all the teams. So like, I just say that to say like, sure, we need to agree, but depending on where we're coming into the process, we might not agree. And I think a lot of times everyone just assumes that everyone's in alignment at the beginning.
So that is the goal of this call, in my opinion, is to have agreements in place, whether we get to a build or not. We could. I think there's ways to simplify this, and most people don't like these things, but probably non-negotiable in terms of if this is a value first score, you remove the word lead, all of a sudden it can go and it can apply to anywhere in the journey, and that inherently simplifies things and removes the need to think about silos. And you've already got a value path that can help us understand where people are and try to understand who they are. So if we can start with that last use case, which should be the use case in all use cases of scoring. Can you repeat that one, Casey?
The last one, I said, providing a common language for lead quality across teams. Thank God I wrote that down. If that was just off of my head, I would have never been able to.
Exactly.
Way too long past saying something to ask someone what they just said.
Like if we don't have that, none of the other use cases matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if we don't get to common language, right? So we remove those words, add in some more human focused words. And I always bring it back to what Rylee how he first defined the purpose of this score, right? Which is what resources need to be activated and when, right? So it doesn't matter marketing, sales, wherever, right? The score and a lot of signals like it are meant to do that, to help us understand. So this is a real use case. Value First is getting a lot of good feedback and interest. You get more people signing up to office hours, got more clients rolling up. So there's definitely a need to start, creating a better understanding, like asynchronously across the team of where people are in their journey and how interested are they. So I'll leave it there in terms of, can we align on that thing that we just described as the definition of this, the why of the score is to activate resources at the right time with the right people inside and outside of the organization.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I'm a little cautious on like that being too broad and like, is that different from me coming from a marketing perspective?
Well, so I had a clarifying question, which was going to be like the spectrum of resources kind of adds a lot of boundary lines and brings a lot of clarity to like what we're trying to actually facilitate. Like, is it something that is just almost binary of, lead score, assigned to rep, which would be Chris or someone, to like make a phone call. All right, well then we're just scoring with a singular threshold in mind versus, is the first threshold something like, okay, then we're going to deploy email to this person. And then the next threshold be, now we're going to spend ad money on this person. And the next threshold be, now we're going to have enrichment credits spent on this person to achieve X, Y, and Z. And then the next threshold be, okay, now we're going to deploy a human being to try and outbound, talk to this person. Because just understanding what, where we're at and what we're trying to do when will help, in my mind, like bucket the scores and who we're scoring and how we're scoring a little bit cleaner.
Yep.
So that sounds familiar to me in like the original, I guess it probably isn't the original, a version of the lead scoring framework that we've been working off of had those like engagement buckets, those like low engagement, medium, and then high engagement. Or if you want to put those in the value paths, that would be like audience, researcher, hand raiser. And I always say like hand raiser, I like almost from a lead scoring perspective, like don't even care because they're a hand raiser. Like they just are, they're going to get passed to sales. Like that all is.
By definition, if you see a hand raiser, you should call on them.
Yeah.
That is literally in the name.
But where it gets a little tricky, I feel like, is in those like who's audience, who's researcher, and like if someone's moving, like what resources do we deploy at each of those stages? Like that's in a perfect world, I think that's really what we're measuring. Like at the audience stage, maybe we need to do these actions. I was going to say send these emails, but I don't really feel like Chris is.
I mean, I can't wait to start sending some emails. We've got some emails.
Well, there's also, so a lot of the devil in the detail here in segmentation and like gating things. And a big one that I always build in is like, you must achieve a certain score of X in order to be allowed to like directly book time on someone's calendar. So like, it doesn't necessarily mean that Chris is going to like get a task to enroll someone in a sequence and then start making phone calls and sending emails. But it's like, it'll unlock this branch of their digital journey with something of like, okay, you want to just book time directly on a calendar and come in and have a conversation. Like that is a privilege in my mind of a buying journey that like kind of needs to be achieved. So like, there's a bunch of these just things that people don't always think of that overlays across the lead score. But to me, that's a big one where, all right, well, now we're going to be sending you emails where the CTA is book time, instead of emails where the CTA is like, learn more.
Yeah. And I think we still have to confirm what the organization looks like. And in doing so, I'm definitely going to show how simplifying in other spots allow us to simplify and embrace complexity in other spots. But this is like, is there an SDR team or not? Right? If there is, then there's a new gate. There's a new like handoff moment.
There's a different resource to be allocated.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen. So glad I did this over the weekend. Yesterday, actually.
Did you build a Claude bot that is your SDR team?
No Claude bots here. Building my own local stuff, including these three leaders, these AI leaders of the Value First team. The one I'm pointing out here is the leader of the customer org. So no marketing, no sales, no service, no customer success, all customer facing resources under one umbrella, right? And our decentralized business model allow us probably make this easier for us, but I think a comparable thing out in the market right now is GTM engineers that are designed to go full funnel. So basically whoever is in the best position to take action at that moment or support the value path Like they're the ones looking at a certain score for them. And so in our case, like referrals, which expert, which contributor is bringing that relationship in or is adjacent to it would be one angle of who's going to take action and what do they need to see. And then the other is like, what's their problem? Like, so if somebody comes in for scoring, we know Casey is better equipped than other contributors for that. So Casey is the first go-to. If we're trying to, data model might be another thing. I probably get that one. Do we have in our unified customer view and with the score, are we looking at a view that we can understand these different variables, right? Because what the customer org is in charge of, relationship intelligence, signal recognition, value path tracking, relationship health monitoring, right? This is what a good score, no matter where we see it, when we see it, will tell us these things. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So why is this hard?
I don't know. It's not hard. I just don't know where to go from here.
Well, okay.
You're not sure where to build from here? Is that what do you mean by you're not sure?
Yeah. Or like how to integrate these notions into what we're trying to create specifically.
Because one thing, like, I think we've seen can be hard is, like Chris, you mentioned if it's a lead scoring thing, then okay, we'll bring Casey in. I think we may not always know that. And especially in Value First, the team's kind of small enough where in that case, Chris, you would probably take it and then you'd figure that out. And then you'd pass it along. Which to be clear, I think is the right model.
Well, and to me, this goes to something Casey's been working on, and where it's like, I don't think that the lead score is necessarily inherently having to do that. Like, I don't, yeah. If we're talking about this, like, I don't think we need to build a bunch of different lead scores based off of where are they going to Casey, are they going to Chris? I think there's a lead score or a value first score that when a certain threshold is reached based off of property values on a contact record or company record or something, then like the threshold gets reached and like the automation triggers, and then it just branches based off of some known information. And if unknown information, then it sends it to Chris to determine what information must become known. Or it sends it to an agent that attempts to do that. Like all that is like, I don't think necessarily that has to be baked into right now. Because it's just, we're trying to collect information and understand who needs to be reaching out. That's great. But like the main inflection point is when what happens where we now decide someone needs to reach out. That's not like a full-on hand raise or like a overt hand raise, I'll say. Because I think what lead scoring is also trying to do is trying to figure out the people that in their spirit, they're raising their hand, but they're not physically raising their hand yet. And you're like, I know you have a question. Let's talk. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, if to bring this back into like, all right, well, what are we building? Like, I understand the kind of general goal, but I think you don't have to have the clearest picture of it at first because it will reveal itself as you are building. And so
I think
is it,
that's
go ahead.
something that's missing right now, though. Like if this were a real client conversation, I guarantee all three of us would have asked, what's the goal? Like by now, right?
Well, I think we've outlined the loose goal, have we not?
I mean, that's operationally. Like, what is the business goal that we're trying to support?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I have an example for you, Casey, if you can't think of it yourself.
For me, of what the business goal is?
A business goal related to revenue that we would want to better understand people who already have engaged with us in some way.
I mean, I feel like what Rylee just said is at least the most common one, which is who are the people that have not raised their hand that want to raise their hand but just haven't, which I think
Right. So I would like to remove that bucket, that assumption that we're trying to make off of almost no data and history to support it. And I think this is a challenge for most teams. It's like you feel like you have to go to outreach, like as the thing that we're trying to do. And I think in a lot of marketing terms, it's like what content, like what nurture campaign like should be activated. And so we have three lists right now, 3 buckets of people who have actively signed up for something. And that is your scoring mastermind from last year, the data summit from last year, and office hours registrants. So starting with data that we have and know to be true, those groups of people have engaged with us directly and actively, and we do not have to infer anything, right? If we think about it from a more recent perspective, because recency is important with scoring, so you guys have told me, that means office hours, right?
Yep.
What is our goal of office hours? To sell paying seats at some point, right? Among other things, like there's another goal of, try before you buy, value first methodology, just get help, experience value first, and then maybe that moves to a deeper relationship of some sort. So I think like if we can like center around this goal, let's say the office hours group, like there's 2 paths I just described, right? Like both relate to different kinds of revenue, but we need to identify that if we're going to have any hope of like, starting to meaningfully build out what a score could be, in my opinion. Now, mind you, I think it's still going to be hard because we don't have tons of people. And in most organizations where you don't have tons of people to score, don't set up a score. Like if you're just talking to each other on a team and say, hey, this person came in, like, do you want it? I can take it. We just got this content done. Let's send them that. They just did this thing on LinkedIn. Let's engage there, right? But if we had let's say 1,000 people signed up for free office hour seats, what would you want to be able to? How would you want to differentiate those 1,000 people, assuming none have filled out a form to ask about any other services? And we'll leave that as the only assumption.
I mean, I think then we just go into, it's hard not to go into the normal fit and engagement pieces. who is that person? You know, are they a college student who's learning about HubSpot and keeps showing up to our things, but doesn't even have a way or a place to pay us money, in which case, like, we love you and keep showing up, but like, I've got nothing to got nothing for the lead score to do. And then the other side being, are they showing up? Are they showing up? And that this is, I know for us, tricky because I know I don't have it set up this way. Are they attending live? I have it set up right now so that I could answer that question. What I can't answer right now is, are they watching the recordings?
Yeah. So various forms of participation and engagement.
Also, what you can't answer is, are they actually watching? Or is this just up on some third monitor that's muted?
But if they're doing, but even if, I mean, that takes some effort. I mean, I hear you, but like, yeah.
Well, that's what, like, there's infinite rabbit holes of data. To me, like, that whole group, getting them to do that sign up is almost like an achievement in and of itself. That's like, great. Like, in theory, what could and should have would have happened is that lead scoring kind of moved them in that direction, and that's like a kind of big culminating event. And then to Casey's point, what really matters then is who they are and who they work for. So to me, it would make a lot of sense to deploy some kind of digital resources of running agents, running clay enrichment tables, like using some kind of credits if you need to enrich some information of what's going on with your company, what's going on with you, like what information can we find that you don't have to explicitly tell us? Did you just go through a round of funding? Did you just have company layoffs? Like, that's kind of useful in us understanding the viability of them as a potential revenue generating contact. And again, it's not all about a revenue generating contact, but obviously that's important, that we need to try and find ways to like nurture these people to increase the likelihood that they want to give us income of some kind. But again, if you're a student, we're still happy you're here, happy you're learning, happy you're participating. Like, the whole point of all of this is that it's rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. But then it's either using human resources or some other messaging resources. Like, let's get more information. Like, hey, saw you attended. How's things going at your company? Are you feeling like you have a need for this at all? Yes, no. And then that just gives us the information that we need to know. Like, they attend one of these things. Great. Enrich the shit out of everything that we can enrich. Ask them some very key questions. And if they answered, we have everything that we need. If they don't answer, then we just keep hoping they show up and eventually decide to reach out to us in some meaningful way. But like, there's no way that everyone runs through this in the perfect method of like, it just keeps working over and over and over and over again. Some people are just not going to answer. Some people are just there because they're lost. Like, who knows? Like, people are just going to be in weird spots. It's just meant to work in aggregate most of the time.
That it is. And that's probably why lead scores are so successful. But I want to, like, since you guys brought up the student, there's two things, right? And this is, again, the value path it's been designed for this. Like, a highly engaged student, like, have they been asked if they know anybody else who might benefit from this experience, right? Like,
but
you
that's
take the
like
word lead out.
Resource. Like, yeah, but then it's like, okay, when you enrich and figure out they're a student, the first question you ask is that question, not, hey, do you want to book a demo? Because you know, in all likelihood, that they don't even have the propensity to pay you money for anything. But so then you're like routing it to determine, okay, we've no information about you. We're going to ask you this question. Assuming you will only ever get one answer to one direct question, you have to make sure you're asking the right question. So that's the first question that should be asked in the student category.
Right.
But again, this
sure we don't take it off the table like we did verbally, like, oh, no revenue there, like, whatever, keep showing up, education, yay.
But
right.
But I think that's where like the deploying of resources comes in. Like, we are a fairly small team. We are not talking about thousands of people right now. So if there was a student, we
You've got
could
3,000 contact records in our database. Like, this is not some
Right.
huge,
Yet we
massive
are
thing.
finding a way to talk about data that we do not have and does not exist, instead of focusing on the data that we do have. Right. And I'd say every team is guilty of this. Right. We have people that have shown up for Value First office hours that inconsistently have been engaged with inside and outside of office hours, right? Like, if we haven't decided what's going to happen with that group, like, which is even smaller number, right? Or how we're tracking, or what did they do that we could maybe learn from to start building scoring from, right? Whether it be fit or engagement, right? We all got surprised that a recording was being watched from somebody who had not been to any live, right? 1,000 points, right? 1,000 points, right? But seriously, that's like, instead, it's because it's super easy to go and talk about enrichment and all these things. Like, none of those things are actually stopping us from using the data that we have to learn more and start documenting, like, little by little, what we need to create the visibility that we're asking for, right? So, like, off the top of my head, we have a client, we have a solutions partner, we have I think she works for a couple different companies, but marketing ops leader, right?
Yeah.
So, 3 different categories right there. And it's not world changing, obviously, but we have very real data that's not being managed at all. And we need to start there.
Okay. I agree. To me, we don't do anything scoring. This is not scoring related at all. Like, this is almost just like, customer engagement 101, upsell, cross sell. Like, basically that's all that this is, which is fine. But like, my brain is trying to figure out, hey, you said the words, we're going to build lead scoring for Value First, which then I'm trying to think of company fit score, contact fit score, engagement score, things like that. What are we building to like move things through and like, so if we're trying to align definitions here, if you're not envisioning like using those tools or features, because to me, everything that you just mentioned doesn't have to use those whatsoever. Like, that using them, especially for such a smaller subset of people, is almost just like totally unnecessary.
How is it not a better foundation to talk about fit? Like those 3 categories I just mentioned, right? Like, our interactions with the partner person. Do we want more of that? Is that a fit? Like, what are the signals?
Okay, so to translate that into building a company fit score, though, like, that's what I'm trying to understand. Like, how?
Like, so we have 3, somebody in manufacturing that owns the stack, somebody, I don't know our industry, doesn't own the stack, and then a partner. Can we stack rank those 3?
How do we know they own the stat? How's that data that we can find?
It's in our CRM already.
Okay.
Because
I need you to pull out from the "we don't know this person" score, because we don't even like rank or differentiate the people we do know effectively.
I guess what I'm thinking, though, is like going back to the question of like, what should the lead score be doing? I don't.
Value First score, Casey. Gosh.
What should the Value First score be doing? Do we need a score do we need a score here, or do we need to say, hey, Rylee showed up to one session given our volume, but if, in theory, if we had 1,000 people, maybe it's 2 or 3 sessions. Now have someone reach out to him. I don't think we need a score to tell us that.
This is just like a sales process, like, to me, is what we're defining.
Okay.
Sales might be.
Let's say there was 1,000 versions of these, because I think it's the scale. Like when you told me that you just go ask Breeze about data in the CRM, like imagine there's 100, partner salespeople, there's 100 digital operations managers, and there's 100, marketing ops managers.
Those are our personas that got, and those are attached to the.
Like which bucket scores higher than the other two?
Which one is associated with more deals?
Yeah.
No. What? Like, is it not? We have these variables that are different. Can we stack rank the variable? Like number shouldn't matter, like number of them, right? We've got 3 industry categories. We've got 3 different roles. What can we draw from our understanding to start to build out? Yeah, maybe like this is a better fit, and their engagement level is higher than the rest, right? Because there's a bunch of people that have signed up for office hours that have not shown up at all, haven't watched anything, haven't engaged at all, right? So they're at a lower score, right, from an engagement perspective. If we got excited about the person that was watching the recording and then showed up, had some great conversations, DM'd a bunch of us, emailed us, right? Is there anybody else on the list that matches either that vertical or that role?
No.
Like, I mean, how else do you decide like scoring outside of like based on what you know and like how those variables that are in the CRM like attached to like real revenue, real engagement, real movement?
Well, I think that's what, like, if those are our personas, like, I think what I mean by can we stack them and which is associated with the most really closed one, revenue, is, okay, sure, partner agency showed up, was very engaged, like you said, emailed, DM'd, whatever. But if our organization, and not a super fair example because it's evolving, but let's go down. If our organization has never sold a deal to an agency, like we just don't, for whatever reason, we just don't fit with what agencies need. I'm not saying we like auto DQ him, but when we're looking at like ranking our personas, I do think that comes in. That's a factor.
Cool.
So do we have data related to
Doubt it.
active clients?
No.
Bullshit.
I don't know.
18 active clients in the CRM right now.
But we don't have personas. I think, I don't know.
There are contacts with those. Like we have not exhausted the existing data set yet. Right. So let's say 5 of those were partners. Like all of a sudden that shoots up. Right.
Yes.
And so that's what, like, I need to hear these kinds of questions from you two before you start to go into like this what if land, right? Like, what do we know right now, right? We have people in the group that have active clients that aren't in our CRM, and there's talks of growing the base, right? That's another, avenue of information. And again, we find ourselves with another scenario where you remove the word lead. And while partners, and this is a very often a missed opportunity inside of the HubSpot ecosystem for people that are trying to access like HubSpot users that need help, right? The closest people to the most HubSpot customers is not you. It is HubSpot, and it is the partner ecosystem and the rest of the community. So if somebody from the community, anybody in that ecosystem shows up, is highly engaged, do they have a video to share? Right? We created a clip that got shared. It was appreciated, right? That was something we did to try and enable, more people signing up, right? Did anybody like or comment on that clip? Have they signed up for office hours?
I don't know.
So all I'm trying to do, since
Mhm.
it's going to be, we don't have enough to like, all right, we got to get together and figure out this list of 1,000, like, which is what usually drives the need to like, all right, let's figure out the scoring right here and right now. But I'm highlighting all of the different touch points and fit data that should be used inside of scoring. Yes?
Yes.
So where do you guys like to start in terms of data that already exists and building the first scores?
I think for me, it's usually Breeze.
Well, for me, it's most of the time with this stuff, people either do not have ICP and personas established, or if they do, they always say like, well, they're just kind of junk and they don't ever get used and they haven't been updated in some time. So like, usually I start where Casey's starting, because a big thing that you are doing lead scoring to find out is who are your ICPs and who are your personas. If you believe you already have them, then we start there. And then we just figure out, how do we want to score these people and meaningfully differentiate them? And then we like look at the distribution, figure out what questions we still have, and kind of go further.
So I'm hearing ICP fit score.
Yes.
It's first score,
Yes.
right?
Which I always say ICP is a company predominantly, and a persona is a person predominantly. Contact.
Yep.
If you're
All right.
B2B, as we are.
Yeah.
Just.
Sounds like we have a mission for next week then.
Defining the ICP.
I mean, an
Company
ICP fit score even.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, I mean, we got to get something out there. Start testing it and like, putting it through the paces.
Well, look, to me, the whole score with you do the company fit score, and everyone over a certain number should be in an ICP. That's really all that you're doing. Everyone over, if say it's 1 to 100, everyone over 80 needs to be in an ICP. It might not be the same one. And then if you realize that you have 30 people that are over 80 that you don't have an ICP for, you need to make one that account for them. And that's all that you're trying to do, is you have your top people that are great fits, and you're just trying to make sure that you have these kind of buckets where you're classifying them of, right, this is this ICP, this is this ICP. We need to communicate to these people a little bit differently. These people care about this thing. So that part is pretty straightforward in terms of what I think we can start working with.
Yeah. I also just want to like say out loud that like I always think fit makes sense. I think fit makes sense to start with because that tells you like how big of a bucket you're working with and how detailed your engagement needs to be. Like,
yeah. And I always start with fit, company fit too, because to me it's the best indicator of like how ready are you for this with a normal client. Like some people are extremely ready and it makes putting the fit store together extremely easy. Then some people are like, oh, you don't know anything, which is fine. But like when doing the exercise of creating a company fit score helps you really realize like, oh, what am I paying attention to? What am I not paying attention to? Who are our people that we've done well with? Who are the people that we absolutely don't do well with? It also helps you realize how many people are getting into our CRM and where and how and why.
All right. So next week we're
fitting.
We're fitting.
We're fitting the shoes.
And the other fit score?
Let's not be overzealous, Chris. One, we'll do company fit. And if we finish it within 20 minutes, then we'll figure out what we're doing after that.
We're going to finish both because I'm impatient. And I'm sharing my screen.
Oh.
Just as an example. Like documentation wise, at least on the individual human level, there are, let's say, targets, right? I will leave it to you folks to do the company fit. I like to focus on the humans myself. But where these humans are, obviously what we're saying is a business leader at a manufacturing organization is different from a business leader at a HubSpot agency, partner. And
you
we're
focus on the humans and you just bring in their company information into them being a human. Right?
What's that?
Like when you say you're focused on humans, you're focused on just the holistic human picture. Because the way you just broke it down is like, yeah, I focus on you as a human, but a big part of that is what company you're with. So I agree. I mean, I think it's all at the human level, but it just helps me compartmentalize the work to like focus on company, and then we drill down to the human.
Right. That's fair.
Okay.
I also think, I still think the company fit is good because if your persona isn't a good fit, but your company is a good fit, that does still change the math in my perspective on the priority of that human.
Yeah. And I will say too, like to Chris's credit, company fit does matter more at scale, not so much right now. Like when you're smaller, it doesn't really necessarily matter. It's more of, well, this needs to be a lever that we disqualify or deprioritize people that are doing a thing. But when you're kind of in the smaller growing sector of your business, then it like talk to everyone that wants to talk to you. Like don't disqualify or ignore people based off of, well, they work at this kind of company. No, talk to everyone. Once you get larger and your team can't actually reasonably talk to everyone, you have to start using this company fit criteria to be like, well, we just going to deprioritize them. Like they're going to have to do a lot more for us to talk to them.
Ryan asked about when building the ICP score for company, can you build one using only native HubSpot properties? I feel like a lot of times my initial company ICP score is heavily, if not exclusively, native HubSpot properties because those are what get enriched. And a lot of times a lot of organizations are not collecting custom properties on companies.
Yeah, to me, it gets into like if you eventually have some different fit scores. Like there's a foundational one, which is just every company record that you're just using bare bones information of industry, country, employees, revenue, technologies, like the stuff that you can just get for free because you know that you can at least reliably get them for free. But Ryan, to your point, like to really figure out who's at the tippy top, you'd need either custom properties or enriched information or, you know, buying insight, trackable HubSpot things like, you know, did they just go through a recent funding round or whatever else that HubSpot's buying role can spit out.
Any final thoughts as we gather here today?
So many.
So many.
I think it's important that anyone thinking about this right now, there is so much data we already have to work with. Like Rylee just mentioned, funding rounds, right? The signals, by intent signals inside of HubSpot is something we wouldn't have had access to, right? So like ICP fit as it relates to the old enriched style data of do we even have their address and phone number and industry type, and like how much does that matter if you see high value behavior and engagement from said company, right? That can quickly, I think, especially as it relates to what we offer as far as like AI related services to various teams, like very quickly, like I think engagement, and we've talked about this before, like
it overrides everything. That's
right?
the point. Like to me, in your example, say we had a company and a contact in there that had all horrible known property values. So not unknown information, but just all things that because of whatever we've configured is like, these are all bad. Then they sign up for office hours. Fuck all of those bad properties. Signing up for office hours is all that matters. Like then we're in and we're talking to you. Like engagement trumps everything within certain like realms, but how they relate matters a lot, especially when you're trying to build like a system that's kind of moving a lot of things through and helping people stay focused and prioritized on things at volume.
Indeed.
So come to office hours.
Yeah. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 11 Central.
So we've aligned that our goal of our score is going to be providing a common language for lead quality across teams, right? That's where we landed?
Relationship quality.
Relationship quality. Okay. Here's the thing. I tried to change it, but human quality sounded terrible. And I wasn't going to
human quality. Yeah. Relationship's the word.
Relationship health score.
Yeah.
If it wasn't 3 words, I'd already be yelling it from the mountaintops.
Fine.
Relationship score or health score. Like they all
what it really is potential revenue generating viability. That's kind of all that really is. Chris is trying to create something more, but that's all lead means.
I did try. I did think about changing it, but human quality sounded bad.
It does.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference, Rylee, between lead and what you just described. What you just described, I can walk us down the multiple paths of this person might just be a partner and there's opportunity on the other side of them. If it's leads, like every business I've ever seen is they need to be buying our stuff. And that's a lead. And they get qualified in that way versus building relationships to create revenue opportunity can happen from the student, from the partner, from all these different spaces. Right.
Sure.
And when you show up and you create a lot of free value, you need to be like opening the doors for that stuff because you're going to get a lot of it. Right. So,
All right.
We'll be back next week.
Next week, company fit.
let's do it.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.